said unto them, render to Caesar the things that are Caesar's, and to God the things that are God's, and they marveled at him. Now right here he has introduced them to two spheres of authority, the authority of the state and the authority of God. And God is the one who is over all authorities. God parses his authority out to different institutions. God gives the state civil authority. God gives the church ecclesiastical authority. God gives mothers and fathers family authority. And they each have their spheres of jurisdiction, and they're not supposed to overlap. The state's not supposed to tell your kids what time they have to go to bed. The state doesn't get to tell the preacher what he can preach on Sunday morning and Sunday night. The preacher can't give you permission to go above the speed limit on the highway. Each one has his own sphere of jurisdiction. And as long as each one operates within his sphere of authority, biblical sphere of authority, there's not going to be any problem. Do you know what the Bible says the government sphere of authority is? To punish evildoers and to reward people who do good. That's Romans 13. Romans 13, the first half of the chapter, is all about the authority of government, and it all boils down to they have the sword, they bear it not in vain, they execute wrath upon them that do evil, and they reward those that do good. That is what their job is. And some of those evildoers may be foreign nations, and so they protect us from evildoers in foreign nations. But that's the government's job, to protect us from evildoers and to reward those who do good. And all the extra things that governments accrete to themselves are not biblical spheres of authority. And when each one stays in their own sphere of authority, there's no conflict. But when one starts encroaching on another sphere of authority, that's when trouble starts to come in a nation or in a culture. It says that they marveled at him, but they were not marveling in admiration. They were stunned into silence, because they weren't expecting what he said. And when they finally end up dragging him before Pilate, in Luke 23:2, they're going to lie. They're going to say, he forbade to give taxes to Caesar. And you know perfectly well he didn't. You got it written right there. You see exactly what happened. But even though he didn't fall in their trap, they're still going to lie and say it anyhow. So he says, render to Caesar the things that are Caesar's, and to God's the things that are to God the things that are God's. And they were so unprepared for his question, they didn't even think to ask him the obvious follow-up question. The obvious follow-up question would be, so what things belong to God then? But they didn't think to even ask that. But if they had asked it, what things belong to God, Jesus would have had the perfect answer ready. Whose image is on you? Whose image is on you? Whose image do you reflect? Whose image were you created in? Whose image who are you supposed to glorify in this world? Yeah, God. God's image is on you. The image of the greatest Lord of all is upon every human face. And guess who we belong to? Him. Him whose image we bear.